Just trying to get everybody in here and get us started. Forgive me, I am experiencing technical difficulties this morning. My tripod does not want to stand up, but I'm trying. How's everybody doing today? I got lots of peeps in here, still letting people in. Here we go. I feel like I'm falling over. There we go. Don't touch it. How's everybody doing today? Happy Wednesday. We made it another week through this pandemic. Yay. Have had a lot of things going on in this past week with a lot of questions revolving various parts of property management and the aspect of property management. So just want to reach out and touch bases with you. Since this pandemic is started, I have always said err on the side of caution, and I mean it. We're going to see a lot of litigation come out of this. We're going to see a lot of case law come out of this. We don't want to be in that mix, if you will. Very expensive to make case law. And because we've never had a global pandemic before, we're going to see a lot of case law come out of this. We've heard of a lot of lawsuits. You guys may even be involved in some of them within the city, the county, the state, the federal government. I mean, everybody's just trying to sue everybody because we have, as landlords, has had our rights taken away, and it's not fair. A lot of us as landlords are currently at a notice of default with our mortgage and looking in the face of a notice of trustee sale, and it's getting scary, for lack of a better term. Again, err on the side of caution, you guys. It's not worth it to be involved in a lawsuit right now, especially, oh, when my tripod's trying to fall over while I let people in. Sorry. I need to fix that. I didn't fix it before I went live. My bad. So need to be careful about what we're doing, what we're saying, how we're reacting. Stop beating on your tenant's door because they owe you money. It seriously is on the verge of harassment, if not harassment already, and you need to be careful on what you're doing. I know it's scary. I'm trying not to be the doom and gloomer. We are getting light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. So there is an end in sight, I promise. Things I could tell you to help you understand why I'm saying these things. Disneyland's open. Things are starting to open up. It may not be open at full capacity and what we're used to or what we're accustomed to, but we haven't been accustomed to that for almost 16 months, 13 months now, whatever it is. It's been over a year. Keep that in mind. The new norm may not be the norm that we all are familiar with. So as things continue to open, as things continue to progress, my outlook is this, okay? I'm grateful, not greedy. I'm glad that things are starting to open. I'd like to see us all get back to normal as quickly as possible. But the reality of that happening is few and far in between. This is going to be a gradual process to get us open and back to business as normal. In the meantime, we're going to hear quite a bit from the majority vote. Who is the majority vote? It's not us. It's not landlords. We are the minority. 78% tenant occupied in the state of California. Now the metal's about to hit the meat. Now we can start evictions and those kinds of things as Senate Bill 91 comes to an end. But they can't pay the rent. Some of them have purchased cars and other things along those lines, and now they don't want the government in their business, etc. We have to let those cards play out. Okay, we can't go running right for the jugular. It's not going to work. So please keep that in mind. Although we're seeing things open, although we're coming to the end of the protected period with Senate Bill 91, trust and believe that there will be a lot more coming at us to try to protect those tenants, to try to give those tenants more time for the protected period. I'm good with that. But come July 1st, if you didn't pay my rent on July 2nd, I'm serving you a 3-day. I'm done. Okay. Game over. I get there's a protected period. They're protected during that period. That's fine. But come July 1st, fingers crossed, we should be business as normal for the month of July. Okay. In other words, I don't see them extending. How can they extend this if they're opening Disneyland? It doesn't make sense. Okay. Then if they do extend this just for housing, watch how many landlords jump on the bandwagon for that lawsuit, because it doesn't make sense. It's not fair. It's not fair housing. I mean, come on, let's face it. Fair housing themselves says it's so that everybody's equal. We're not equal right now. We're not being treated fairly. Okay. It's not in balance the way fair housing wants it, that we're all equal, because we're not. So I anticipate us seeing more lawsuits come about. We'll see what happens as far as extensions to pay and things of that nature. And it should be very interesting what happens in the very near future as we continue to get closer to the 1st of July. I know there's been quite a bit of questions about when we can do what in what county and what we can do and when we're not doing anything yet. We're erring on the side of caution. Remember, if your tenant has lived in your property and paid the rent throughout the COVID pandemic, we don't want to reward them by increasing their rent as soon as we can. It just doesn't make sense. Okay? Think about that. Let that sink in. If we want to thank them for paying the rent through the pandemic because they didn't put us in a bad position, is that going to be by increasing the rent as soon as that's possible? Something to think about. The best thing that I could tell you guys, and the easiest thing that I could tell you guys, is how would you want to be treated if that were you? Kind of makes sense, right? So that's a really good way to look at it, just so you know. And for those of you doing any dispositions of security deposit, any rents owed during the protected period cannot go on the disposition of security. And if in fact they haven't done any damages and they only owe rent, you must then refund their deposit, unless you have in writing from the tenant with a pen and a piece of paper, not an email. We want a signature that says that you can use their deposit and apply their deposit towards a past due rent that's owed. If you do not have that in writing with pen and ink with a wet signature and the date, you can't do it. You have to give the deposit back. Sorry, hate to be the bubble burster and the dream crusher, but I don't want to see any of my peeps get involved in lawsuits for no reason. Hold on, I saw something come through. What about the tenants that game the system? I want to raise the rent ASAP. They gamed the system. I got you. And I feel what you're putting down. And I know that you want to raise the rent as soon as you possibly can. But here's the reality of that. You're probably going to be in a much better position to start eviction based on non-payment of rent for the month of July in July, and nothing else, much faster than you could do a rent increase. You hear me? You hear me? So if they're not paying you and they're manipulating the system, why do you think they're going to pay you July's rent? I'm just saying. And we're starting to see a lot more things evolve with this current market. As far as sales go, a lot of tenants are purchasing. A lot of owners are sitting on their vacant units waiting for the protected period before they put them back on the market because they don't want to get burned. We're seeing a housing crisis because of it. We're also seeing that new listings aren't lasting on the market for any given amount of time. And they're coming in with asking prices or offering $10,000 to $20,000 over asking price. If you guys slow down just a minute and say, this is ludicrous, this is ridiculous. No, this has happened before if you really, really think about it and go back to 2007 and 2006. Dead silence. What I'm saying makes sense, right? So we know that the bubble's going to burst soon. It can't continue to go on the way that it's going on. History tells us that the real estate market crashes every 10 to 12 years. Okay, we're past due. If this is what strikes that to pass and the market crashes, our courts that are already inundated are then going to become inundated with foreclosures and foreclosure evictions. You guys paying attention? Okay, definitely something to think about when you're contemplating eviction versus paying them to go. Remember, while you're in the eviction process, you can collect no income from the tenant. So they don't have to pay the rent while they're going through the eviction process. Currently in LA County, it's 6 months for an uncontested eviction. That means if they don't fight you at all and just go through the legal process and don't file an answer, you don't go to court, that is taking 6 months in LA County right now. What's going to happen when the potential foreclosure issue hits us? How much longer is the court process going to take? And for those of you that are currently trying to evict in the city of and go through the court through the city of Barstow, example, anybody in the high desert, Victorville, Hesperia, Apple Valley, anything in the high desert right now, Barstow is currently processing cases that were submitted to them at the end of March of this year. That's how behind the court is. So for those of you that are trying to evict and getting frustrated with your legal counsel, come on, let's get them served. They haven't even got approval to get them served yet. They're still processing from March. So they are literally more than 8 weeks, just over 8 weeks behind. 8 weeks just to get approval to say, yes, you can evict them. Here's your case number. Now go serve your tenant. And that's just Barstow Courthouse that's having that big problem right at hello, right out of the gate, just so you guys know. So that would be anything in the high desert, anything in the mountain ranges. Example, Big Bear, all that stuff goes through the Barstow Courthouse, and they are backlogged, inundated. And as this continues to evolve, how much more inundated are these courts going to get? We don't know. So as it sits now, I wouldn't be in a rush to do a rent increase. What I'd be in a rush to do is serve a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit on July 2nd. Because your rent's due on the 1st. So the first time it's delinquent's on the 2nd. I've already looked at a calendar. This actually works out to our benefit. So July 2nd, you can serve a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit the way the law is written right now. Hence, anything could change at any given time just because the wind blows. But for now, that's where I want your head to go. I have a feeling that we're not going to be able to increase rents for at least 6 months after the pandemic. And the reason I say that, and it just coming from common sense, and I feel those of you that want to increase, I got you all day long. But I think that fair housing is going to say that we have to wait 6 months before terminating tenancy without cause or increasing rents due to the global pandemic. I mean, come on, if they call code enforcement fair housing or bring in bed bugs, we can't touch them for 6 months. So we have to take into consideration, what's a global pandemic going to do? We haven't heard from fair housing. Fair housing is up in everybody's stuff. So where are they now? We're looking for that guideline. We're looking for that practice that is the best business practice so that we don't end up in litigation. Litigation is not somewhere I like to be. I've been there for, God knows how many times. But you don't want to be there, especially when you're bleeding money. It gets expensive quickly. So just trying to say, does anybody have anything that they want to talk about, address issues that need to be brought up? Okay, hold on. I see something, Val. And my tripod, I don't know why. Can you guys see this? It's like so tippy. It's going over. Remind me of how to sell the rental house with the tenant in it. Okay. So if you want to list your house for sale, you may do so. LA County and all the properties in LA County become quite challenging. And I'll explain why. Just work with me, okay? Once you have an open escrow, meaning you have a ready, willing, and able buyer, and you have an escrow that's open, technically you can serve a 30-day notice for them to vacate because you have an open escrow and the buyer intends on occupying the property. Everybody paying attention? It's got to say that on the notice. The buyer intends on occupying the property. The tenant must vacate, okay? As long as your escrow is open, you are able to evict on that notice. If your escrow falls apart, so does the eviction. And I don't know about you guys, but we just had this conversation. How long does it take to evict? 6 months. Do you think you're going to be able to keep an escrow open that long? And that's if they don't fight you. If they fight you, it could be a year. And remember, you're not getting any income while that's going on. So cash for keys sounds like a much better opportunity. Some cities are trying to put a stop to cash for keys. And I thought about it. Why are they trying to stop cash for keys? That's ludicrous. That is so ludicrous. And then it made sense to me. I know why. I know, I figured it out. Why don't they want landlords negotiating cash for keys and avoiding the legal system? Anybody? Anybody? Because the court doesn't make any money. So don't be surprised if we're not able to do cash for keys agreements and we get sucked into the legal system. Why do I say that? Why? Because I never thought in a million years the government would be able to rewrite my written rental contract with my tenant as to when my rent is due. Paying attention? You hear me? I'm trying to prepare you guys for what's about to happen because it's going to get worse before it gets better. 30-day, even if they've been there in a few years. Yes. The reason you can do a 30-day escrow is because you have an open escrow and they can't stop us as a landlord from selling our investment property. And they can't stop Joe as the buyer of wanting to live in a house he just bought. So yes, 30-day notice, terminate tenancy because it's in an open escrow and the buyer intends on occupying the premises. That is the only reason you can do the 30-day based on the escrow, is only if the buyer intends on occupying the premises. Another thing we're seeing right now with real estate transactions is they're buying with the tenant in. And what the seller is saying is, I'll give you a $4,000 credit in the event the tenant doesn't vacate and you need to pursue legal, or a $2,000 credit, or whatever a good dollar amount is. But keep in mind, they might not get rent for 12 months. Why that's happening. Just remember that, okay? And you don't want to be that person. You want them to be that person. So credit them. $5,000 doesn't sound so bad if they have to pay an attorney to do an eviction and wait for a year. $5,000, here you go. Take it all day long. I'll take it off. I'll credit it back to you as a bonus, whatever you want to do. Talk to your agent, talk to your broker. They can manipulate and work that system to you guys so you can come to an agreement. But if you're the one that has to get them out, I would seriously consider cash for keys. And some areas are already trying to put a stop to that. My dog is yelling at me. I am so sorry. Let's give him a cracker and hope he goes away. Because he doesn't want anything. I checked before I brought him out here. Let's see what other kind of questions we have. He wanted a cookie. Is there a fee for the application and an additional fee for the background credit check. Arlene, no. It is a screening fee. So by law, and oh, we're going to reach out on a limb here. Currently, under California state law, the amount that a landlord can charge for a credit application is $49 and change. And I'm not sure what the change is. Forgive me. I got a lot of stuff I got to remember in this blonde brain. Okay. The industry standard right now is anywhere between $30 and $35. We don't see a lot of people even charging $40. You do have to disclose your hard and soft costs to that consumer. So if you take a credit application, and I'm giving you an example, and you charge $35, you're going to write them a receipt, and the receipt should state that $20 is going to the credit check, and the other $15 is admin processing fee. So you're having to disclose how much you pay for the credit report, and then you can have administrative fees for that as well. It cannot exceed that amount. If I could give you guys a tip and a trick with applications, and I swear by this, okay? And when I say it, you guys all go, If you want to speed up that process and not get bogged down chasing your tail, stop accepting incomplete applications. Super simple. Okay. How much time do we spend calling a tenant back to get their pay stubs, or I'm sorry, they're not a tenant yet, they're an applicant, calling an applicant and trying to get them to give us the information so that we can put it all together and run their credit? Stop doing it. If you're taking your applications in the first come, first serve format, as Fair Housing's guidelines say, and remember, those are guidelines, not the law. Okay, and that's a whole nother conversation. If you're taking your applications in first come, first serve, and you take an incomplete one, is that person first person in line? Now, are you chasing them, trying to get them to get all their ducks in a row while you have a line of people waiting to apply? If the application isn't complete, don't accept it. Put it right on your criteria. This property does not accept incomplete applications. I'll give you an example. Had a gentleman come in one day and he brought me his application. I want to rent the house. My girlfriend's moving in 6 months. I'm sorry. You only provided your application and not your girlfriend's. Your application is incomplete. I can't accept it. But I'm standing here and I want to apply. But you just told me your girlfriend's moving in 6 months. She's not here. Your application is incomplete. He turned me into Fair Housing. He turned me into the Better Business Bureau. I won on both. I didn't accept the application because it was incomplete. He tried to say I denied him. That's not the case. I never ran credit. How could I deny him? It's very, very important, the words that come out of your mouth, and that you stick by them. When you start detouring is when you get into trouble. And I know somebody's going to ask, so I'll just tell you about the Fair Housing Guideline. For decades, we've been told, take your applications first come, first serve. It's the best business practice. First person in line either gets approved or denied. If they're denied, you move on to the next person in line, and so on and so forth. And you time and date stamp your applications. That is Fair Housing's way. And I'll tell you why. The law says that a landlord can pick the most qualified applicant. That's what the law says. Fair Housing wants to make sure that you're not discriminating. And that's why they came up with the guideline of first come, first serve. Because if you're approving or denying and then moving to the next one, how could you possibly be discriminating based on ethnicity, ethnic background, marital status? Are you with me? Are you guys following me? So that's why Fair Housing made that guideline to stop the lawsuits of discrimination because landlords were putting them in a row and going, I don't like this guy's job. I don't like this guy's this. I don't like that guy. They were discriminating against source of income, how many children they had, marital status. It makes sense, right? So if they come in first come, first serve, you are less likely to discriminate. See why fair housing made a guideline? So in the event that you only run credit on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and you pick the best applicant based on what you pulled in on Tuesday and what you pulled in on Saturday, you're not discriminating. But you got to run it like clockwork. So if fair housing ever comes in and investigates, you can prove that you only run credit on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and then you pick the best applicant out of the batch. You're welcome. Stop taking incomplete applications. It is a time suck. It is a frustration coming through the roof. Just stop doing it. I'm sorry, I don't accept incomplete applications. I don't have a copy of whatever it is you need. Can't help you. Next. I mean, it's a real easy business practice that saves us time, anger, frustration, money, all of it. So you may want to consider not accepting incomplete applications. If the real estate market continues to go the way that I think it's going to go, the way that lenders, appraisers, everybody's telling me it's going to crash. It's a matter of when, not if. I know that's coming. I know that's going to happen. We just don't know when. So be cautious. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? Any questions?
I have a question, Patty.
Yes. Who am I speaking to?
Arlene. Hi.
Hi.
When you say about an incomplete application, if they refuse to put down their bank account number or the amount in there, and I requested previous bank statements, which they refused to give. So
their application is incomplete. But let me ask you a question. Do you have a criteria list on the front of your applications that say what you need in order for them to apply?
Yes.
Okay. And does it say they need their pay stubs?
Yes.
So I would then call them and say, I'm sorry, we don't accept incomplete applications for processing. You can come pick this up along with your money. Because if you didn't run it, don't keep the money. That's not right.
Right.
Okay. Right. But that is the best. You can pick up your money. And then what we find, and giggle with me here because I know you know this is true, we call and we can't get anybody because they've already found another place to live. They're already living there, but we don't know. And then we have to send that money back. So we mail it to the previous address that they had on file, but it gets returned to us. And now we're stuck with it again. So at that point, the only option we have is to send it to the state of California as unclaimed funds.
So basically, when you take an application, you don't take money for that. But then when they fill it out and you use Aglo's credit service kind of thing, and you have them pay directly. So that's the only charges for that application process. Is that correct?
You can do it that way. I take the money right up front because I want to know that I had it. If that makes sense. So I take the money, the pay stubs, the whatever they're providing me as proof with their completed application. I'm showing pay stubs. I have bank statements, everything I need. Now it's complete. I'm going to take your money and you'll be hearing back from me on or before this date, whatever your guidelines are. Turnaround time, 72 hours, whatever.
Okay.
So that's the way I do it. It's plain, it's simple. And I use the first come, first serve method. What helps me is I don't take incomplete applications. Okay. Real simple. Okay. And I've done them both where you just run designated credit on one day. And the only thing that I saw become an issue with that is at the property management company that I was with, we only had a couple of people that had the capability to run the credit because they have to go through screening and background and everything because they have access to everybody's socials, you know? So we only had a couple people that could run credit. And if they weren't there in the office on that day, we had to bump it to the following day of the next time. So sometimes we'd have credit run on Saturday, we'd miss the Tuesday window and everybody would just get pushed into the following Saturday. So that can become quite a conundrum, especially when you're trying to flip them quick and you can't approve them because you got to wait a whole week before you can even run credit. So it does have a downfall. Okay. But you got to follow that to the T. Otherwise, fair housing is just going to compound you. But what I've done is I've eliminated incomplete applications. It makes my life much easier. Much easier because now I'm not calling. We still need this. I'm trying to get a hold of you. I need your bank statement. How much time are we spending doing that? Not for one client, but usually for 5 or 6 at a time. It's ludicrous. And then we're trying to find them and send their money back. And that's a whole nother nightmare, right? She's just nodding her head. She's like, yes, I agree. I got you now. Okay, let me see.
Thank you so much.
Anytime. Some other questions came up. Let me see if I can get to them. Okay, I would love to sell a handful of Kern County homes this year, but all are rented with long-term tenants who don't want to buy or can't buy. I was taking advantage of this hot bubble as selling an occupied home is much more difficult. Actually, it's not. A lot of investors are purchasing right now, just so you understand, and they're leaving your tenants in the property. They're acquiring your tenant. Not everybody that's buying right now wants to live in the property, okay? So if that's the case, it's an easy escrow and an easy change. Yes, investors are low ballers, but in all reality, this is a false market. And not all investors are low ballers. There's some out there that have no idea what they're doing, believe it or not. And they will do things we wouldn't. And I'll leave my statement at that. For the tenants not paying rent and who don't do so within the 3 days after July 2nd posting, the next step would be to process with the UD. Yes, for only July's rent. Okay, remember that protected period goes all the way through June 30th. My tripod's falling over. I'm sorry, I'll try not to touch my phone. That protected period goes through June 30th. So as it looks on paper, July 1st, we go back to business as normal, which means we'd be back to a 3-day notice and we could then evict only for July's rent. Okay, so 3-day on the 2nd for whatever July's rent is, and then start the eviction on the 5th. Yes, I checked it all out. It works perfect for the July month. So just a thought, you guys. If you can avoid eviction, avoid it. If you can come up with a cash for keys offers that works and your tenant's happy and you're happy and they vacate and you trade them money as they're handing you the keys and walking out of a broom swept vacant unit, so be it. Hit the easy button. Remember, if you're going to offer your resident or tenant a cash for keys agreement to get them to vacate, please keep in mind, stop offering them $500. Could you move for $500? Neither could I. So why are we asking them to? Just saying. Okay. Remember, you're going to get 6 months of no rent and you're going to pay the attorney to get them out in 6 months if they don't even file an answer. So you're looking at 6 months of rent that you're not going to get plus legal costs. What's that worth to you? So make sure you're making a good solid offer and you got that rocking and rolling in the event that you go that way, so that you have not offended them and disrupted the balance. Because offering them $500, could you move for $500? I don't even think you could rent a moving truck for under $500. Okay, or a storage unit at this point. Supply and demand, you guys. And there's nothing out there. There's nowhere for them to go. Remember that. So you're going to have to pay them enough to go live with family. Okay. It might not be them you're paying. It might be the people that they're going to, you know, like uncle or mom. Because I'll tell you, there's some people in my family, I would want a pretty penny if they had to come live with me. Which form do you use, or how do you let an applicant know when they have bad credit? You use an adverse action form. I'll say it again, adverse action. And it's actually a requirement by law anytime you deny a consumer. It's part of the Consumer Reporting Act, the Consumer Debt Act, blah, 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 blah. Anytime you deny someone, you are required, and you ran their credit. So if you ran their credit and you're denying them, by law, you must send an adverse action notice that's telling them why they didn't meet your criteria and how they can get a free copy of the credit report. Okay, that's what the adverse action does. So you want to definitely make sure you do that every time you deny an applicant. If you deny 5 applicants with 5 different addresses, you mail 5 different letters. If you deny 5 applicants all at one address, you mail 1 letter addressed to all 5 applicants. Okay, of why they were denied. If they're individuals like roommates, you cannot give someone else's credit report or their denial letter, because it tells what the FICO score is in that adverse action notice. So very important that you're not giving out personal private information. The only time that I personally would give a credit report to someone that asks for all the credit reports is to a husband and wife. By law, they are one. Okay. Other than that, it goes to the individuals directly as far as passing out credit reports or adverse action notices at that point, because they do have a FICO score on them. And we do not want to give away anyone's personal private information. That's a big no-no in this industry, a big no-no. Okay, hold on, Karen, I see your question. Let me pull it up. How long is an owner required to hold personal belongings abandoned by the tenant? Well, that depends. And let's talk about that. So what you would serve is a notice of belief of abandonment of personal property. Okay, notice of belief of abandonment of personal property. It's also called a right to reclaim abandoned personal property. The key word in there is personal, just so you guys know. There's 2 different forms. One is personal property, one is real property. Okay. So for the personal property, that would be items that they left behind. If you post the notice on the door, then you have to wait 18 days. If you hand them the notice, then it's 15 days. So it just depends on how that notice of right to reclaim abandoned personal property was posted. And mind you, there's 2 different documents. One's for under $700, one is for over $700. If it is over $700 and they do not claim their items, you, as the landlord, have to go through the next process, which is just as stressful and long of a period of doing an actual eviction. You have to hire an auctioneer, store all the items in storage, advertise in the newspaper for so many weeks that you're doing a public auction, have the public auction. Any funds that are received through the public auction, pay for the auctioneer, pay for the storage, and then any proceeds and money that you've made off the sale of their personal items then has to go back to the state of California. You don't get to keep the money. Even if they owe you money, you have to send the money to the state of California. So with that being said, when you're going through and looking at values of personal belongings, please think like a yard sale, because that's what an auction is. It's a sale of used goods. It goes kind of like a yard sale. So at a yard sale, somebody might pay $1 for a whole bag of clothes, right? There's $1 every bag of clothes you have. If you have a mattress that's urine stained, that's trash. Nobody's going to buy that. If you have a couch that's missing cushions or ripped, no one's going to buy that at a yard sale. It's trash. So if you're under $700 and you go through the process, you can actually deem the belongings as trash and dispose of them accordingly. You with me? Over 700 is bad. Under $700 is good. I've had them go both directions. I've been through the process. It is what it is. Just remember, we signed up to be landlords. This is part of what we have to do. So right to reclaim abandoned personal property can get really tricky. Just to let everybody know, there is a right to reclaim abandoned real property, which would be the actual unit, but that is not something you want to challenge or try to do without the assistance of your legal counsel. Okay. Because that's how you get your unit back without doing an eviction. People are like, oh, you can do that? Yeah, every time you have an abandoned unit or something along those lines, that's how you get the unit back, is through a notice of right to reclaim abandoned real property. And it's tricky, has to be done a certain way. There's lots of moving parts. So you definitely want to talk to your legal counsel about that. 9 times out of 10, just between you, me, and the wall, they'll sell you an eviction rather than the notice. And it just depends on the circumstances. If they come back at any time and say, no, this is my house and I live here. Okay, thanks for letting me know. You're done there. So again, it's for a specific reason, not necessarily all reasons. Okay. I'm trying to be careful here. It's got a specific process and procedure. Haul all their crap into the front yard, take a photo, itemize, and say it's under 700. The junk will disappear overnight. Well, Val, thank you for your advice. I can't say certain things. I will say this though, on a sheriff lockout where there's a lot of items in the unit, I always leave the back door unlocked. And I'll tell you why. The owner has insurance, okay? If somebody else moves in there and is squatting, I'm gonna call the sheriff and the sheriff's gonna come kick them out based on the eviction notice that the deputy put in the window. No trespassing, okay? You guys with me? Okay. You need to be very precise in what you're doing. Landlord tenant is the most heavily litigated in California. Litigation means one thing, it's going to cost you dearly. So you want to be careful with that. Okay. Nobody wants to spend unnecessary money in litigation. So be careful with those docs and make sure that you're chatting with someone that knows what they're talking about when it's happening. Like I said, I leave the back door unlocked. There's a reason why. If you lock up that house tighter than a drum, they're going to break in the middle of the night. The neighbors aren't going to say anything because they know them. They've been living there for God knows how long. And they're just going to come in and they're going to steal their stuff. So my theory is, why have them break a window on top of it? I'm just saying. Sometimes in some scenarios, it makes more sense just to leave the back door unlocked. They will come in that night at 2:30 in the morning and steal all of their stuff, which is fine. We don't want it anyway. We want you to take your stuff. Okay, hold on. We got one other question coming through. What do you recommend when the tenant has someone living additional and they deny it? Do you tell them that a manager saw them or our surveillance camera? Thank you, Patty. First of all, Gabby, thank you so much for calling it surveillance and not security. That's going to save you a huge lawsuit. I commend you for using the proper verbiage. Good job, girly. Okay, now let me go back and read that one more time. What do you recommend when a tenant has someone additional living and they deny it? You have to put the dates, times, and the witnesses right on the notice violations. So let me give you an example. 3-day cure or quit, also known as a 3-day curable breach of covenant. One is property management slang, the other one is legal lingo, okay? 3-day cure or quit, 3-day curable breach of covenant. tomato, tomato, same document. Got me? Okay. I would put on that document, as per your lease contract, paragraph 2, item 6, whatever it is, you cannot have unauthorized occupants and there is no subletting allowed. Then I would go on to say, on January 3rd at 4 p.m., our surveillance camera caught blah, 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 who didn't leave until blah, blah, blah time. It was then again caught at this date, at this time, at this date, at this time, witnessed by surveillance footage or a person's name, the manager, the on-site manager, the maintenance guy, whoever saw it. They might be called into court to see if they saw it. But if you put the dates, the times, and the witnesses of each occurrence, what you're doing is you're building the case for the attorney that later will go fire those ducks off that you lined up, because then they can pull the video footage and show the court. Then the person can come testify. Yeah, I was there. I saw them. It was on this day at this time, and this is what I saw. So when you put it on the notice, you're doing yourself a big favor. Dates, times, witnesses is a requirement on a 3-day curable breach of covenant. That way, if you have several of those, and I'm just trying to paint a picture here, LA County, as an estimate, last time I checked, wanted 4 curable breach of covenants before they did the final 3-day to quit, and it have enough teeth to stand up in a court of law in LA County. In San Bernardino County, 1 and done, meaning unauthorized occupant was seen on this day at this time, witnessed by this person. You see it a second time. I usually do it twice, and the second one is a courtesy, especially in another county other than LA. And I'll put at the top of the notice, second request, and then I'll put the new occurrences at the very, very bottom and leave the old occurrences on there. That way the attorney has lots of ducks to fire off in the event that you do need to go to eviction court. And then I talked to the attorney one more time before I served the 3-day notice to quit. The reason being, if you serve that 3-day notice to quit too soon, you just screwed up everything and have to start all over again with your first curable breach of covenant. Okay, so you want to be careful. This is very precise. It has a process and a procedure, and you want to make sure you follow it all the way through. I hope that answered your question. I know it was very lengthy, but I felt that it needed a little bit of the why behind it. Oh, I got a yes. So you can catch them on surveillance. You can catch them by other neighboring residents, things like that. But you got to build the case for it.
May I ask you something?
You can ask me anything you want, Jay.
Okay, they usually end up saying, "Oh, I happened to be visiting me that time," or but there's no proof that they really staying and sleeping over. Okay,
Well,
they always say yes.
Here becomes my question. Okay, what is your rental agreement say about guests? Does it say that they can't stay more than 14 days in a 30-day period? Because in the event that you have that in your contract, please consider changing the verbiage. And hear me out, and I'll explain the why. If you have somebody and your rental agreement says that a guest can stay 14 consecutive days in a 12-month period, what you're saying is it's going to be really hard for me to document 14, 15 consecutive days of you being there to prove in a court of law. So when my rental agreement comes through and it's time to move a new tenant in, I make that 3 days. A tenant can have a guest stay in the property for up to 3 consecutive days in a 12-month period. Why do I do it that way? Because it's much easier to catch them in 3 days than it is in 14.
Okay, well, 3 days of
Mind
sleeping
blown.
over, or 1 or 2 hours coming and going. That's a
Well,
different story. Yeah,
it
go ahead.
says consecutive. So that's where your loophole is. 3 consecutive days. And what I find when I do it that way is people come tell me my mom's coming to stay with me for a week. Okay, thank you so much for letting me know. I appreciate it. All it does is leave those lines of communication open. When you move in a tenant and you're going over the rental contract with them, go into detail over, I'm so sorry, but we're at a zero tolerance. We have a zero tolerance policy for lease violations here. So I just want to explain to you what the rules are so that you completely understand them. And
Okay.
go into detail with them when you're going over the lease. I spend an hour going over what they're signing up for so that they fully understand.
Okay, Patty, it wouldn't be unreasonable to say only 3 days.
No, because it says without written consent of the landlord. So
Okay,
when they
got it.
tell me their mom's coming to stay a week, I'm going to say, okay, no problem. Thank you for letting me know. When she's there longer than a week, I'm going to ask them, what happened? I thought your mom was staying for a week. Now she's still there. Don't make me do my job. I'm really good at it, but help me understand what's happening. Oh, her flight was delayed. She's leaving tomorrow. Okay, thanks for the update. Tomorrow comes, she's still there. I'm serving you a notice at this point. You're now in violation of our agreement. So it's just in the beginning, you got to play nice. When you feel you're getting steamrolled, that's when your voice comes out. Okay. And don't forget, you guys can always call me and ask me anything you want to help you. Somebody said, you're like a widget in my pocket. Yes, I am. And I'm here to help you. Anybody have anything else that they want to talk about, discuss? My emotional support animal's getting frustrated with me for some reason or another. Apparently, I'm not paying him much attention. If you guys could see the way he's looking at me right now, you'd laugh. I don't know how to turn the camera around or I'd show you. I have a big emotional support animal, a big one. Here, let's see if I can't get it turned around. I'll just show you my emotional support animal. Then you guys can all laugh. Let's see if I can get my phone out of here. And then we'll end this for today because he seems to have anything else. I might as well show off my fur baby. You guys ready? Here he comes. Can you say hi, Bugsy? Can you say hi? He's like, nope. Oh, there's my fur baby. That's my emotional support animal. He's 125
I have a
pounds.
question.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Patty. Look, I have a tenant in Los Angeles County, Van Nuys area. When
Okay.
they moved in, it was just a husband and wife, older people. Now,
Okay.
I inherited this building without any lease. Everything is verbally done. They've been there for 10, 20 years now. Now, my problem is later the daughter came, the daughter brought a boyfriend. Then now they have 3 kids. So altogether, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 6 people living in 1 bedroom. What should I do? 7 people.
Okay. Can I ask you?
Los Angeles County.
Can I ask you something? I'm going to tell you something. Okay.
Yes.
In LA County, and don't shoot the messenger. Okay. By not acting upon notification, you void the complaint. What did I just say in English? If you don't do something about it when you found out about it, you void it. You're allowing it to happen. So anything that has been going on for over 45 days without you having knowledge of it now becomes your tenant.
All right. I understand that, but I still would say I don't know that she had so many kids. And today I found out. I mean,
So if today is the day that you found out about the unauthorized occupants, now you can start questioning about the unauthorized occupants. You can serve a 3-day curable breach of covenant because of the unauthorized occupants.
how much teeth I have?
Say that to me one more time.
How much I can pull this through? What is the likelihood of getting this thing out of the way in Los Angeles? I know it's very tough,
Well,
especially
let me ask. There is no law locally that governs how many people can reside in a residential dwelling, other than the building and safety code through the state of California. And when I tell you what that code is, you're going to throw up in your mouth a little bit. Okay. Building and safety for the state of California says that no more than 9 people can occupy 690 square feet.
Wow.
So you don't really have enough teeth there unless they double those numbers, right? To get them out based on the state law. Now there is an industry standard, but it's just an industry standard. It's not the law. So there's a couple of places that you can protect yourself in the future from something similar like this of happening from you. And it has to be in 2 places in order for it to have enough teeth that you can evict for it. Okay. One is it must be on your criteria. That's the checklist that's on the front of your application that says what they need to apply. The other one is it must be in a paragraph in your lease contract, written just as simply. The maximum occupancy for this unit is 2 persons plus 1. 2 persons per bedroom plus 1 on the couch. The maximum occupancy for this unit. I didn't say children. I didn't say adults. I said maximum occupancy or maximum persons. Do not define children and adults. That's where you get in discriminatory trouble because you said children. Okay. So the maximum occupancy for this unit is, if it's a studio apartment and you want 1 person there, then you call maximum occupancy for this unit as 1 person. Do not use the word single. I'll tell you why. Only single occupants can occupy this property. Did you just discriminate against marital status? Yes, you did. No, you meant single as in a number, not single as in being with a partner. Explain that to a judge when you're 3 feet deep and sinking in the hole in litigation. Don't use the word single. Use a number. Maximum occupancy is 4 persons, 2 persons, 1 person, okay? Use numbers and max occupancy. Don't use single, don't use couple, don't use small family. That's all discriminatory. Don't do it, okay? But that's how you can control or have a better control over how many people are in a unit. For you at this point, if you just found out, you can go ahead and serve that 3-day curable breach of covenant. I wouldn't try to evict on it right now. There's too many protections from COVID, but at least you're starting the, hey, this is a problem. Hey, this is a problem. Hey, this is a problem. And if you want to use it as a course for eviction, I would strongly suggest that you talk to your legal counsel, because they will tell you based on your area whether or not that's going to fly and what you need to have in order to make it go. So if this is the first time you knew about it, dates, times, witnesses, right on the notice. And then if you're in LA County, you're going to have to serve that curable breach of covenant at least 4 times before you do the quit. So I would start that documentation and then call your legal counsel and ask them for direction. Hold on. What if they had kids and went over the rental agreement maximum amount? Thank you. You can actually terminate their tenancy if they bring a second child into the unit. If you have what I said, maximum occupancy, both on your criteria and in your lease contract, you may be able to evict for it. Usually the first child you kind of overlook, it's the second one where you have more teeth, just so you know. Just so you know. But when you call them persons, max occupancy is 12 persons, 6 persons, 2 persons. If they bring another person, doesn't matter if it's a child or not, now they're in violation of their contract. See how that worked? That's why we're calling them persons.
So in my situation, I don't have a lease, and therefore there is no max occupancy stated anywhere. Do I still have any way to correct this situation? because I don't have a lease.
Okay, I would talk to your legal counsel because you're in Van Nuys and not in the city of LA. You may be able to, and keyword there was maybe, and I don't think I'd do it in COVID. You may be able to ask them to sign a rental agreement with like or similar terms, meaning that you're not adding a rent increase, that you're not adding a ridiculous late fee to them, you're keeping it all. And to protect them better with all of their rights, you may need to update your contract. See how that worked?
Thank you, Patty.
No problem. And there actually is a way to force them to have a written rental agreement they never signed come into play, but you need legal counsel to do it. What did I just say? You could take somebody that's on an oral agreement and basically serve them a 30-day notice to change of terms of tenancy. And the tenancy is the new attached, or the change of terms is the new attached written rental agreement. Okay, I've had to do it before. It's not fun. There is a process and procedure, and you definitely need to talk to legal counsel. And I don't know that you're going to be able to do it during the protected period of COVID. Okay.
Let me see if I understood you. You said after the COVID is done with, you can do a change of tenancy requiring all tenants to have a lease, written lease.
And if they refuse to sign it, you can then give them a 30-day notice to change of terms of tenancy, stating that the term that you're changing is the rental agreement that's attached.
Thank you, Patty.
Okay, it forces them into that contract, but it has to have like or similar terms. In other words, you can't use that as a way to up the security deposit, up the rent, up the late fee, you can't. Okay. It's got to be like or similar terms, but getting them on a written contract, there is a way to do it. I've had to do it a couple of times, and both times I did need legal counsel for direction. So don't try to figure that out on your own. Anybody have anything else? We're coming up on 1 o'clock. Actually, we're a little over. Nothing? It's quiet. I like that. It means we got everybody taken care of today. So if you guys need anything else, feel free to hunt me down. Next Wednesday, we shall be back again. I'm trying to think. And then we're going to have an adventure in June. Thank you guys. I couldn't do this without you. I appreciate it. So in June, we're going to be on an adventure on our Wednesday with Widget. I'll keep you posted on that, and see if we can't do some more updates on what we're seeing in the market. If you guys haven't gotten money and you have tenants that are owed money, I encourage you to find every aspect. Don't just wait on the Housing is Key funds. There's a lot of county programs, a lot of church programs. There's a lot of money out there to be given to landlords. Let's not put all our apples in that one basket on that 80-20 money. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So if you've applied for the 80-20 money and you're not hearing anything, and you get involved with the city program and the city bails you out completely, and then the 80-20 money comes, just say, no, thank you, I'm no longer interested. Okay, don't double dip. But definitely, if you need money that the tenants are delinquent on, let's find it in other aspects, not just put all our apples in one cart, is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. And I haven't seen our money girl on here. April over at Continental Assets is our money gal. She chases money like nobody's business. Oh, you are here, April. Do you have an update for us on monies? People are asking, have you received the money from the Housing is Key yet? From the federal program, have you received any funds? And the reason I'm asking April, you guys, is she is on top of money like nobody's business.
Hi, Patty. I haven't received any update, but they are starting to approve tenants for the 80%.
Okay, perfect. And are you still finding that churches and cities and other municipalities and things of that nature are helping distribute funds as well and getting them sooner?
Yes. So I received previous assistance already for some of our tenants through some of the churches and some of the city programs that were available. So they've already sent us their payments, but not for this particular program through Housing is Key.
I got a feeling we're not going to see the money from Housing is Key until more towards the end of June when the protected period is over.
I heard possibly June 5th, they would start mailing out payments unless you requested ACH payments.
Okay,
Yeah, so around June 5th, we should start hearing more.
perfect, April. And thank you for being my money girl, because you know where the money's at.
You're welcome.
Hey, it's better than being the murder, death, suicide girl. That would be me. I can't keep track of everything. So when I have somebody that says, I'll go chase the money, I'm like, okay, yes, you do that. Cause my brain is only so big and then I get on tilt. So thank you, April, for being our money girl.
You're
Didn't California get another 2.6 billion? So we should get 100% now. I'm sorry, I had to giggle and even April's giggling, but here's the reality of that. I don't know. I don't know that we're going to get the whole 100% and not just the 80%. It would be great if we did, because that would save a lot of owners from foreclosure. But if it comes too late, that's not going to fix the problem. And hopefully we do get the whole 100%, because if we do, then I'm going to tell you guys on July 2nd, 3-day notice your tenants on the 2nd of July. Mark my words, the 2nd of July. Okay. And remember, the notice can't expire, or it doesn't count weekends and holidays. So if we serve it on the 2nd, the 3rd would be day 1. The 5th would be day 2. And I don't know where the holiday comes in, but I need to check it out, because I got a feeling we're going to be able to evict for July's funds sooner rather than later. And that might help us tremendously. All right, you guys have a great week. If you need me, hunt me down. I am here. I am actually in California. Yay. So if you need me locally, I don't know how long I will be here before my next adventure. So if you want to book something, book it quickly. All right, you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.